For the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. I don't think anyone else is coming through, but they do well. Greetings, everybody. I'm Dr. Tracy Kimball. I'm the executive chairwoman and CEO of Wish Innovations. We are a biotech company, very similar to Dr. Stewart, creating formulations for skin healing and wound healing and skin repair. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the feasibility of hemp-derived cannabinoids and terpenes for skin repair and wound healing. My financial disclosures, these are the companies that I currently work for and represent, and I'm going to be talking about off-label and investigational use of phytocannabinoids for skin repair in the context of inflammation, sepsis, and pain, which are the three barriers of healing that we deal with. I am a tenured wound care surgeon. I'm a general surgeon by training. I got into wound care in 2012 and decided to take on this endeavor during an MBA project. And we've developed two formulations, but I'm really going to talk about the phytopharmacology and bring awareness that there are mechanisms and the structure function of these compounds for their very diseases that I manage and treat in my patients. So I won't touch on a lot, but you should be able to take away from this talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system, which you all know from our last talk, definition of biosimilar, because I personally believe that that's what these products are. Current FDA stance on CBD products, and then the phytopharmacology is the cannabinoid isolates that we are looking at. So just a review, endocannabinoid system, homeostatic regulator of our body, managing anxiety, inflammation, and other disorders that we deal with. Two types of receptors, the three-part system, again, ligands and receptors and enzymes that trigger and activate this system that affect ultimately our inflammatory pathways, but also biofilm, which is a very significant component of senescence and wound healing, which also stimulates inflammation and also pain. So what I really want to emphasize and what I'm going to purport is that what we're dealing with are biosimilars. So these are compounds that are created by living beings, living organisms that structurally and functionally interact with human body and the receptor system within. So because of that, my belief is that our formulations will ultimately be regulated by the FDA, and we'll be advised that we will eventually go to the FDA looking for a new indication. So we all know Epidiolex went through the pathway and then they shut it down. And so we believe that we will introduce this idea that our plant medicine can actually treat and potentially cure these foreign wounds that patients live with, chronic wounds that they've been living with for months, years, decades. So our study, what I'm presenting today is that we just did a Science Nexus compendium of all the literature in the last 5 years under 5 different languages. There were over 300 papers that were published. And we isolated it down to 52 that were really relevant to our company's vision and mission of creating these innovations. So that leads us to a few of the topical papers that I thought were really important and specifically related to our particular isolates that we're trying to create and blend together. So there is an alchemy to what we do. We are going isolate because we believe that the variants in full spectrum or full plant distillates is not controllable, but then also it's natural. So we're dealing with a supply chain that's going to be at risk for pesticide drift and just variants because of the terroir, the environment in which the genetic is being grown. So we're actually isolating CBD, CBC, CBG, and of course, essential oil terpenes for our formulations. This is essentially a validation slide, so everybody take out your camera and take a picture. But basically, it just tells me that this is a very interesting topic. Many years of investigational research that's gone into understanding that CBD actually interacts with hematofibroblasts. It actually downregulates stromal cell inflammation and oxidative stress. That CB1 receptors are actually found in these MSCs that are found in the evolving regenerative wound bed. So these are just basically platforms that our company is going to invest in and work with our contract research manufacturer or organization to do in vitro testing. We are applying for our SBI, our first SBI grant this fall. So what I thought was really neat was that this exotic CBC, I had a really hard time finding literature. So if anybody likes to work with CBC, please come find me, because we really want to understand how CBC specifically in this paper actually downregulated sebocytes. So human sebum cells were cultured and were treated with CBC isolates, and they found that sebum production was reduced, which essentially arachidonic acid-induced acne-like lipogenesis was downregulated, which actually for me helps me then say, okay, well, maybe there's an implication in acne, and then the patients that I see with boring wounds, specifically hidradenitis suppurativa. Patients are on tumor necrosis factor inhibitors. They have lots of side effects from those medications, and it's a systemically delivered medicine where this particular topical that we would ultimately produce could be just used straight at the target where the wound is. And then finally, as what's been previously discussed, we have sharing an isolate. We're sharing the 4 terpenes that we are going to be working with in our formulations. Most specifically, the theta C and the myrcene and alpha B are of personal interest. And again, we're capturing, those are the actual botanicals in which we're capturing those terpenes. So we're not creating isolate terpenes from plants and mixing them in. We're just essentially getting them from the essential oils that have high concentrations. So more whole plant science from a terpenes perspective. So just to remind everybody, and it was recently discussed at Congress last week, that the FDA currently is not comfortable regulating hemp-derived products. They have produced the guidance, and they do believe that there is some precedent information based on their experience with Epidiolex pathways that hemp products do have some regulatory precedent with the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act. However, they threw it back to Congress, and Congress says, no, you have to do your job. And Congress, and FDA says, no, Congress, you need to help us. But anyway, they're going back and forth, coordinating each other. But I believe in the coming months, probably in the coming months, that we'll see more regulatory oversight on actually the natural product space with regards to hemp-derived products and the intoxicating contaminants that are within the supply chain right now being isolated and put into these products. That does hurt our business, obviously. So, you know, we're passionate about where it's headed, but I really do think that, you know, what we're doing, since we're just really focusing on CBD and minors and terpenes, we're 100% non-THC. And that is because THC in my platform actually is cytotoxic. So we hear a lot about how THC is helpful for cancer or maybe melanoma. And of course, that's great because those are cancerous cells that we want to defend against. But we want to have a regenerative wound bed. And so we believe that THC in our products would be more detrimental to the actual outcome. And again, this is just a excerpt of one of the FDA guidance about, they did a review, and here's the reference, but they did a review of the literature, and they saw that specifically with regards to topical CBD compositions, that there were very little adverse events. We also believe that our products and our formulation compositions have very little penetrance into the bloodstream. We have not done any dose response studies yet, but that is the plan. So thank you for your time, and love to take some questions.
What was that word you used for THC being damaging to the cells?
Cytotoxic.
Thank you.
With your formulation, have you felt like you needed to I guess, use concentrations that are kind of well outside the range of kind of standard kind of topical CBD products for specific wound healing, or if you kind of felt like it still fit in, it's more of an entourage that's really good use value.
Yeah, so we actually have several advisors, scientific advisors on our board all over the world, and it's been really hard to determine actually what the ideal concentration of these various isolates are. So we just put our heads together and came up with a particular ratio that we're claiming proprietary and protecting through the USPTO. But we're starting with that platform and those ratios. I can tell you it's predominantly CBG, and there's a minor of CBC, and then CBD is like in the middle. But we really don't know. We want to study we need to study our formulation specifically and look at that synergy, because that's really where we think the rubber meets the road. Is that, yes, we know and talk about full spectrum and whole plant physiology. And so unlike others, we specifically did isolate these compounds and make them in that particular proprietary ratio, studying it on those assays with those cells. That's what the nature of our SBIR pursuits are, is to do that in vitro test to actually show the efficacy of that particular formulation. So next year, I'll come back and hopefully have everybody informed about your question. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
While awaiting your trials to show the efficacy of your product, is there any product right now that you utilize for your patients?
We did start and produce a diaper rash cream, so that's going to be our first MVP. We have not put it into commerce yet, just because of the patent protection side of things. We need to get that Providence set. But our first launch is going to be a hemp-derived diaper rash formulation. So, and of course, friends and families have used it. My son uses it on his acne. He loves it. So I have anecdotal evidence, but nothing of a trial. And eventually, yes.
Is there any products your products right now are not available? Are there any products that found in this available?
There are products available. Actually, Abacus Health sold their product over-the-counter product portfolio to Charlotte's Web, and they branded their products. So Charlotte's actually producing a psoriasis cream. There's a lot of products out there that
have they been tested for efficacy?
I have not seen literature with regards to that, which is why our company specifically is making the investment to actually increase and enhance the industry knowledge about skin efficacy.
And doing clinical trials related to that?
The plan is yes.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Good.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.